Marvin here from Blacktop Banter. Really quick, just wanted to talk about the 800 Pavement Network. As you can see, we have some lettering there, lettering on our other truck over there, lettering on this truck here. They all say 1-800-Blacktop. We've been using the 1-800-Blacktop number here for the last couple of years. It's really been exceptional for us as far as making things click with our branding, and now that we're in another state, those area codes are together. It's worked out fantastically for us. The other thing is that 800 Pavement Network has other advantages. There's group discounts on a lot of the products and materials that we use within our industry. We're part of over 300 different, see that one? Over 300 different contractors that are now using these numbers all over the country. That's combined over $2 billion in gross profits. So if you've been thinking about it or you're curious about it and you're like, well, oh, should I or shouldn't I? DM me, message me, or reach out to 800 Pavement Network. You can find them online through their website. You can call 1-800-Pavement and you'll get them as well. They'd be happy to run you through kind of the advantages and everything else that we've been taking advantage of here at Wis-Coat and Dubuque Asphalt Maintenance, and how it can benefit you as well. Once again, if you're curious about it at all, you can always DM me. See that? 1-800-Blacktop. You can DM me or message me or email me through the podcast or Wis-Coat or wherever as well. I would love to talk to you about how it has helped us. Hey everybody, welcome back. Blacktop Banter. This is episode 80. So this week has been a long week for us here. We ventured down with the 800 Pavement Network to LeeBoy, and I was able to give a speech there in North Carolina with Mike Musto. I had a fantastic time with Mike and the LeeBoy team and everybody. We were able to do a tour of the facility. I don't think our industry realizes how much planning, efficiency, manpower, and quality goes into those machines there. First time for me getting there and taking a look at it, seeing, going through the front doors of the office to the meeting room, right? And then they take us to a tour of the facility. Everything is in-house there. And seeing all these people there, it was really a sight to see for us, being from middle of cornfields here in Wisconsin, to seeing these guys, welding and pressing their metal, bending their metal, doing their fabrication, doing welding, have some robotics in there, and doing their wiring harnesses and everything. I was just absolutely amazed. I cannot wait to show you guys all that content from that trip, right? And then from there, we went to Dynapac with the 800 Pavement Network again. Was able to see all their compaction equipment and why they are one of the industry leaders in that area. It's just, these are 2 major names and 3 major names, right? With 800 Pavement Network and Blacktop Banter now being, a name. I don't want to say a major name, but I felt like they're small fish in a big pond. But I was absolutely amazed, at these guys, and it was inspiring, right? So with that, this week, I wanted to kind of do a solo one and talk about things I've learned from people in our industry, our main businesses, right? Our successful manufacturers and things in our industries. When I say industries, I mean asphalt and asphalt maintenance, construction, all that stuff. And then also, I was able to spend some time with Mike Musto, who started US Pavement back in the 80s, started 800 Pavement Network. And we talked a lot about seal coating. The guy's big in seal coating, paving. Everybody knows that. They have still one of their original seal coating rigs from 1985, he was telling me. So, it really led to some great conversations. And it also let me reminisce a little bit and kind of think back on how I got to this point, right? With not only Blacktop Banter, but if it wasn't for the success of Wis-Coat, I don't think that I would have had a platform to highlight. Like, I would have had nothing to highlight on Blacktop Banter. I just would have been a guy that was a fanboy, I guess, at that point. So, I wanted to kind of go along and give a few points and a few tips and some stuff I've learned. There's a lot of tips, right? And there's a lot of points. If you are in my coaching program or our mentorship group, our success group, as I like to say, I don't like to say coaching because I really, I get it. I understand. But really, we're just here to advise people along, right? And a lot of this stuff is unique to a certain person's area where they're at, their situation, everything as well. So we just help them adapt. So I like to call it a success group. That's what we want. We want success. Everybody in there does. I think there were, probably 12 people regularly in our group. And if you're interested in that, reach out. But, we go over a lot of tips. I wanted to give you 3 that I think were on my mind a lot this week while we were down there. And I was being able to, take in the success of Blacktop Banter and, how we've got to this point where, while we were down there, I posted a video on our TikTok page on Sunday night. And by the time we left, it was at 3.5 million views. Now, a lot of that is a tribute to my, trial and error through social media and studying algorithms and all that stuff. But also you have to have good content, right? That your audience wants to see. So I believe that our eye and us being an asphalt based and background business has led us to get the shots and apply them and things like that so that they're appealing to our community. So, and that didn't just happen like that. Those were goals, right? Some of these numbers, these figures, these followers were our goals. You guys used to see whiteboards behind me in my office. They're now in another area, but we used to have our goals written on those, not only for Wis-Coat, but for Blacktop Banter as well. So without further ado, I don't want to keep, beating a dead horse here, but let's get into some of the points. And point number 1, reverse engineer your goals. So that's, tip 1, reverse engineer your goals. So the basis of that means that you have to come up with some goals first, right? So unbeknownst to me in my 20s, my goal was get a house, make enough money to pay your bills, and have your equipment and make it through the winter. Like that, those were my goals. I didn't know they were my goals, but those were the things that I knew I needed to do, right? And wanted to do. I didn't have them written down. I didn't reverse engineer them. I just tried to do everything every day that I could, somewhat haphazardly, to get to those things. And thankfully we did. I also, during those times didn't dedicate all my time as efficiently as I do now, but I could have got to them sooner. So how do you do that, right? How do you reverse engineer your goals? So for us, let's just talk Wis-Coat on this one because it'll be easier for everybody to relate to. Let's just say I have, and this is all just for number figures, right? Let's just say I have 100 days in the summer to seal coat. I want to get to 100,000. That means I need to at least gross $1,000 a day, right? So I know that, right? So I have to set up work for that or get enough work for that. So you do your thing, right? You just start doing your Facebook ads, or you get a hold of a company like 28 Circles to do your SEO or whatever you're going to do, and you start getting some leads, right? And then you can start mapping out your job days, and if they're going to hit 1,000. When they don't, then that should spur you on to somehow keep creating leads so that you can fill those up, right? You run out of days, you got to do what you got to do. I'm sure you guys have heard all my, some of my tactics for generating leads. Those change now. If you can't generate leads out of sheer determination nowadays, you're missing the point. You are being lazy about it, in my opinion, because right now you could drop me anywhere and I believe I could generate leads enough to make a business maintain at least, right? Or live in whatever area we are. So, that's how you would reverse engineer it. You would put it up, figure out how you're going to get there, and then know what you have to do every day to get there. Now, if you miss a day, that means you have to double back up on a day, right? If one of those 100 days it rains, or you have a tire blows out and you can't get a tire and you lose that day, you're gonna have to double up one of those days. So if you're one of those guys that takes weekends off, which we try to alternate them here, you're gonna have to work on a weekend, right, to make that day up. So you can do that as well with social media. So it's kind of tricky, right? Like with Blacktop Banter, how I did it with followers. One of my first goals was to get to 10,000 followers. So then I realized, well, when did I want to do this? And you guys have heard me say before about setting goals that a timeline is absolutely important, right? So for us, I would say, just for numbers again, 10 months, I want 10,000 followers. That means I need 1,000 followers a month. So do some posting, right? And do some posting and see how many followers you get on average over a week, right? And then say, okay, I need to either upgrade how many times I post, upgrade my quality in order for me to get to those 10,000 followers, right? 1,000 followers a month. You can just divide how much you're going to need to be and get there and try it. Now, it's not easy, right? I mean, that's a lot harder than the Wis-Coat one. But the point is, you shouldn't be setting the goals to reverse engineer until you are sure on that you know how to get to those goals, that you're capable of getting to those goals, right? So a lot of that comes with your education of whatever area you're going to be in. When you're confident of, yeah, I can do this, and you've seen somebody else do it and they say, yeah, man, I got to 10,000 followers in 10 months, or I got to $100,000 gross in 100 days, or whatever it is, then you know it's possible. It's really easy just to ask somebody. If you have pride and that's in your way, that's foolish. That's a foolish thing, right? It's great to have pride in what you do and your success and your confidence, but to let it get in the way of you educating yourself to get to success, that's a foolish move. So don't let that get in your way. That's my number one. That's my first one, is reverse engineer your goals, right? So in order for you to have goals, you have to be educated in what you need to do and how to do it to get to those goals. Then you just reverse engineer the numbers wise, how much it's going to be. Sometimes that means adding another person. If it's a certain number of sales, right? Let's just say you want a certain number of sales, certain numbers, not just dollar numbers, but we want 1,000 sales. And you know that in that amount of time, you don't have enough time in a day. Then you have to hire somebody or find somebody that's willing to do those sales for you, make it lucrative. Find a mentor, find someone who's experienced, ask them how you do that. How do you get somebody to do sales for you if you don't have enough money to pay them right now, right? So you can do all those things. There's always a way. You just got to find out which way it is. Now, the second tip that I'm going to get into is a little bit more of self-improvement, right? Not an easy one, right? We're all born. I really enjoy. There's a speech by Jim Carrey where he said, you know, up to a certain point, he was playing the character of Jim Carrey. He was a product of his environment. And then he realized he could be whoever he wanted. The more he started acting, he realized he could be whoever he wanted to be, right? And then there was a time where Jim Carrey was trying to find himself, right? Who he is. Some of that play goes into my next tip. Sacrifice, risk, and determination, right? That's the three, for me, those are the three key elements in order to get your business from your mind to your pocketbook. I'll start with sacrifice. I have people that, you know, I would say mentees or people that are my friends that look to me for advice on how to grow and expand their business. And I will say, for me, I am never not working. It's always in my brain. It's always on my mind. If I don't have moments where I'm with my children and things that take priority over my business and should take priority over my business, I'm on business. So I'll get a picture sometimes of one of these guys duck hunting or deer hunting, or they're out on the lake, right? And while we are on a parking lot, right, or we're on a driveway or doing whatever. So for me, in order to get to a certain level of success, you're going to have to sacrifice. And also that means sacrificing some things for a certain amount of period of time. In my 20s, I didn't have nice vehicles, right? I didn't have toys. We didn't have, you know, ATVs, and if we did have it, I didn't have it very long because I flipped it for money, right? So those were a lot of sacrifices we made. We didn't go on vacations. We would go down and visit family, or go up and visit family. Those would be our vacations. We do our best to make the most of those. And it's not that we didn't have the money to do it. It was that I was putting the money back into Wis-Coat, right? I was sacrificing to get to where a certain level of success that we wanted to be at. Now, here's the other thing. You have to take some risk. right? If you don't, you are slowing your growth a lot. And by risk, sometimes that means turning the camera around and getting uncomfortable, right? And you're risking your comfort zone. And sometimes that means risking money, right? You guys have heard the story of the Duramax where I only had $1,500 and we financed the Duramax for 16 grand. And I was like, I don't even know how we're going to make next month's payments on everything, right? So I risked that money and that comfort again for my business. And we built the business on the back of that white Duramax. Sadly, that white Duramax has some engine trouble right now. Luckily, we made it to the end of the season, but we're going to get that thing back up and going. It's a marquee piece. It's an iconic piece of equipment and all of our content in our business as well. So it'll always be around. But now, we've risked since then. I risked when I hired a couple people out. I didn't have the money to pay what I promised them for their salary at that point, or what I paid, told them we were going to make per hour or whatever. But because of the sacrifice of my time and my energy towards my business, I was able to mitigate that risk by making sure that we were outworking what I was taking on risk wise. And we did the same thing, with all of our equipment and all of our stuff that we got over the years. Same thing with our bulk tank, right? Like we didn't do that in house. This building here, you have to take on some risk. You have to be willing to risk it, right? Your confidence in the fact that you know what you're doing because you've seen other people do it and you've taken information in from them, or you have a father, a family that's very successful, or the confidence from your, hopefully you have good people around you that are speaking good into your life and confidence into your life, and that should give you enough confidence to take on that risk, right? And know that it could be done, all those things. And the last thing is just sheer determination, right? Keeping that up. You have to keep it up, or you have to keep that sacrifice up. If at a certain level you get comfortable and take your foot off the gas, I did that. I know for a fact for a whole year I did that. We didn't grow. I didn't buy anything else. I didn't see anybody else. I didn't plan any goals out. We didn't take anybody else in for work or anything like that. I got on cruise control because I wasn't determined anymore. And then, I was able to go meet with some friends, and they're like, is this what you want? And really, I knew it wasn't what I want. I wanted more. I wanted to chase more. So you have to stay determined. It's really easy to get to a certain point, get some money in your pocket, be like, okay, I want to celebrate a little bit. And then you celebrate, and then all of a sudden you celebrate again. And all of a sudden that celebration style becomes your lifestyle, and you're not determined anymore. You no longer want to get up. This morning I got up at 5 o'clock to come here, record the podcast. We're going to go crack filling, right? And then I'm leaving this afternoon to go south to Alabama. That's determination. And I've been doing this steadily over time. Am I drained? No. Am I enjoying the ride? Yes. You can do this. You just have to balance it all out. But you have to stay determined. One of the most determined people I know is my friend Chris Love at Love's Asphalt Solutions. Every time he makes a move, he makes another move, and he makes another move. I'm absolutely in awe of that guy and his determination. It is what motivates me to stay determined as well. I've surrounded myself with Chris and guys just like him to stay determined, whether it's Blacktop Banter, where I'm blazing a trail where I don't really know where the lead is. I look from outside of our industry, right, to some people that have blazed a path doing similar to what I'm doing in a different realm. And I try to, do what they're doing, or at least elevate myself, or make situations that I've seen that they've been in, have us get there. And that takes determination. You have to stay determined. Once you've realized what your goals are and that you've reversed engineered them and you know how to get there, and you've started sacrificing, right? And that hurts your family to sacrifice sometimes. But if you can sell it that we're all on board for this, for a larger, greater thing, it helps out. You have to risk, right? You have to risk to get to a certain level. And then in order to make sure that that's not all for nothing, you have to stay determined, right? This last trip, I went to North Carolina with Mike Musto. Listen, Mike Musto, the guy has done very well. Everybody who's in the industry knows that. He's older in years. Everybody knows that. But while we were down there, I was having conversations with him, and his mind is still determined. to make amazing things happen in our industry. And you can tell his body is still determined. He's fit, he's energetic. He gave a speech there that was full of life. So he's still moving, giving speech, traveling by himself, doing all this thing. He is determined, right? For his legacy, he is determined. You have to stay determined. Now, to point 3, Mike couldn't have done all of this without a great team. And now with me here at Wis-Coat, I realize I can't do or would have made it this far without a team. You have to have a team. And even if they take a little bit of stuff off of your plate or they highlight the areas where you're not good at, you need a team. Sometimes you have to risk to build a team, right? Money, you have to give money to make your team click. With us, for examples of that here at Wis-Coat, I have Chris, who you guys know as Whiz Cheeks, who is one of my crew leads. He does work as good, if not better, than I do. Sometimes that kills me to say, and sometimes I have to show him that I still am number one and why. But he is so good that it is like me being in 2 places at once. Doesn't cut corners. We never have complaints of any of the work, right? That's your team. Because of that, I was able to be in another place, right? And be in the office, take care of office stuff at a certain level. Once that got to a point where I couldn't do the office stuff and Blacktop Banter and do sales, I hired office staff, right? And we went through office staff that didn't fit in, and I kept going until I found the team that did. Brooke, who's here, is very good at what she's good at. Steph, who is here now, who I would like to say is my business advisor and business manager, even though she hates for me to say that, is absolutely perfect at the numbers. And not only that, she has experience where I'm able to advise my businesses off of her as well. And it helps keep me in the right direction. They take tasks off of me and help me direct our culture towards that I'm able to do stuff with Blacktop Banter, like you've seen this week here. And then I have the rest of my guys, right? If I didn't have guys like Cameron or Sammy or the guys that do the labor around here, I would be the one doing the maintenance, right? And cleaning my machines and making sure our culture stays there. I would be the one putting extra time in, maintaining all our properties and stuff at Wis-Coat as well. Here's the other thing. It doesn't have to be just within your industry. My team are friends that I have, like Charles Baker at CMB, Dustin Natinka, Jeff Simowitz, Stencil Plus, Martin Hubbard, all these guys. That's one team of my guys, my peers that help me, right, with my striping stuff or my business stuff in general. And then I have another team, right, where you guys have seen me with Brian Hess at the Pavement Group, and everybody that's in that thing, that's my other team, right? If I need advice or I have anything, I can pop in there. They can help me, and they do help me. And then I have people outside of there as well that are my friends within the industry that aren't in those. All my mentors and guys that have been down that road before. That's my team. That's my network, right? You have to build that. I'm telling you, there's so much value in the team outside of your business and in your business in order to excel your growth, to hit your goals, right? That's why people have these huge dreams, these lofty goals. And then they start on that journey and they realize how hard it is and how far away it is, right? And then they're like, well, I can't make that happen. Like it's just too far away. It's the road to get there is way too hard. I'm not going to be able to do it. And part of that is because they've never been taught how to properly network, or that networking is such a major thing in order to get to a certain level of success, in order to get to a certain level of goals, in all aspects of getting to your dreams, right? You guys have heard me say it a lot, right? If you want to go fast, travel alone. And if you want to go far, travel together. That's a credo that when I'm in certain circles with my teams and my guys and all those things, my friends in the industry, and we're at events or, we're just talking on the phone, we'll say something and somebody will say that, because we've all realized that saying, right? That is a true saying. That's what has made some of the people in my circle, I would hope, including myself, exceptional in their field, is the fact that we've been able to understand that because of our network and who we know inside and outside of our businesses, we've had success. Now I can take that to one other level, and you have connections even outside of our industry, right? You guys have seen some of those guests come on my show. You've heard me talk about them in the past. Guys from the landscape and lawn care industry, even guys that are financial guys, marketing people, whoever. I've always taken something from them that's helped with our culture and helped us move. So that's number 3. That is one of the most important things to make it happen, is to build a team and have a team. Sometimes that's even just picking the right suppliers, manufacturers. Our seal master here, I stick with them because I know that I can call them, the owner, his sons, the representatives, everybody at a heartbeat, and they have either information or resources to keep us going and keep us flowing here. So they're all part of your team. Build your team. Build your team. So real quick, I'm going to review the 3 things and 3 tips to make it happen in your seal coating business and other businesses, right? Number 1, reverse engineer your goals. That means you have to have goals, and that means that you have to be skilled enough and knowledgeable enough to attain those goals. Number 2, sacrifice, risk, and determination. Those are all 3. I went over sacrifice, I went over risk, I went over that you have to stay determined, right? Those 3 things go together. I know you got 3 things in one tip there, but there's no reason to do one without the other 2 of those things as well. And number 3, your team, right? I'm very thankful that I'm an appreciative person, right? And I have a lot of gratitude. When I reach out to somebody for knowledge and information, most of the time they become my friend, right? And because they're your friend, you have an affection for that, right? To where you're like, man, I'm just so thankful I got this team. It makes you want to create more friends, to create a larger team, because you realize not only does it increase the quality of your businesses and what you're doing, it increases the quality of your life as well. You guys seen maybe a couple posts when I went down this last trip, and I'll finish on this. I got to spend time with Daniel Wright, who at first we met on Facebook groups, and then we met at MPE, and then we met in some other groups on Facebook and different things. And then all of a sudden we started to meet at different events, and then we started to talk a little bit back and forth. We probably spent 25% of the time talking about business this last trip, and I was able to spend a lot of time with him, thankfully. The other 75% was about just life, right? 2 men in their 30s. Our businesses are growing at about the same pace. We are encountering a lot of the similar things in life as well. And just a gratitude to know that you're not on this trip alone was amazing. And that's kind of what I think the podcast embodies for you all, right? And for me, myself, right? Like, I do the podcast for myself as well. It gives me purpose. And I feel like for our industry, it's important, right? The podcast is important for our industry. It's creating a document. It's a window for the outside world to see into our industry. And I take a lot of responsibility on to making sure that all of our legacies are cemented and secured in this industry, and that it gives all of us purpose for what we do, because what we are doing is very important, not only for our country, but for society, right? We are building the roads and the driveways and the parking lots that the world needs in order to function correctly. So for me, you guys are on my team too. And I'm very excited to bring these 3 tips to you. I'm hoping we can bring some more stuff like this in the future as well. I'm really going to try to do this on some of these different podcasts and single some stuff out and try to let you guys peek in a little bit into my mind and how I work and how I function. I have had trouble with that, right? I've never wanted to regurgitate stuff that other people have said and put that out as my content, and that I'm so knowledgeable. But the more I'm able to speak from the heart at certain events and certain things, and people come up to me afterwards, or they send me DMs or messages or even comments about, that my content is fire and what I'm saying really resonates and does well with them, the more I'm getting confident in letting you guys take a peek in. I'm not feeling so weird about some of the thoughts and processes that I have here. and some of the determinations that I come to in life. So I hope to be able to bring that to you all as well. I'm always, always super thankful for the response that I get here at Blacktop Banter from you all. We are, over 40,000 listens now. We're in 40 countries. The videos are still getting multi-millions of views. We're pushing 5 million views on that video that I mentioned earlier. And we get lots of content, and it's allowing us to bring an audience not only to our industry, but to the manufacturers and suppliers in that industry, and to the business owners in the industry. And not only that, the people that work for those businesses that make all this big machine function well. So not only here at the podcast, but in our industry, we speak asphalt. That's a big thing. There's a lot that goes into it when you say asphalt. You guys are starting to see that. There's so many different variables that touch that word, right? There's so many different areas that touch that word that are our industry. And if you're listening, more than likely, you're probably one of those. So keep doing what you're doing. Stay determined. Thank you for your sacrifice. Thank you for everything you risk and give up for your family, our industry, your business, your job, whatever it is. Thank you. This is episode 80, Blacktop Banter. And like I said before, we speak asphalt. Peace, y'all. Talk to you soon.